So consumers all over the world, irrespective of income, desire to eat tasty food. But in places like South Africa and also in many developing countries, there's major inequality in terms of income and living standards of consumers. So on the one hand, you've got consumers with a high living standard and that are food secure. And then there's a large part of the population that suffer from undernutrition, malnutrition, and that are not food secure. And my research as a sensory scientist focus more on the needs of the food insecure consumers. The situation in many parts of Africa is that consumers and specifically children have access to some food. So they are not necessarily hungry, but the food that they do consume do not have enough nutritional value.
And recently you have published a study with sorghum, a crop traditionally cultivated in Africa. I had to look it up, I didn't know what it was. And you offered consumers different kinds of sorghum biscuits. What was the purpose of the study?
Our purpose is to make acceptable food products that is also affordable. And we focus with that study on the needs of young children. For many young children that rely on a food staple that is based on a cereal, they do not have enough protein in the diet. So with our series of projects where we develop biscuits, we complement the cereal with a source of protein. And what we select as a source of protein would be legumes that are also grown in parts of Africa and indigenous to the continent. So for example, cowpeas. So we make a compost site, we combine cereal flour, mainly sorghum. And sorghum is indigenous to Africa, and we combine the sorghum flour with legume flour, and then the legumes provide the proteins, and you've got a better protein content and also a better protein quality.
Are they tasty actually? Do the school kids like to eat them?
It's very important that if you make a biscuit that is nutritionally optimized, that it should also be acceptable. So it's not your traditional sweet, buttery wheat biscuits. And we found that children like these biscuits quite well. The challenge is for them to consume and like the biscuits over a long period of time.
Besides sorghum, which other food sources are you interested in and where do you find them?
We believe the key to the use of these indigenous food sources is to understand the sensory properties of the products. So we've done some sensory profiling on many African green leafy vegetables, amaranth, cowpea leaves, many different ones, also stinging nettles, for example. But another interesting example is the marama bean, which is a legume that grows in the desert-like areas in southern Africa. The marama bean is special because it has a very high oil content and also a very high protein content. And traditionally, it is used as a source of food by some indigenous populations. But there's no commercial planting or harvesting of marama bean, so it's a wild foodstuff. We were part of a European Union study to look at the nutritional value as well as the sensory properties. There are many such examples that need to be understood, and we need to understand the sensory properties, because the only way that people will start to use it is if it has some sensory properties that are beneficial.
Riette, thank you very much for giving me the interview, and have a very nice meeting here in Iceland.
Thank you.